Today we're taking a look at the newly released Demeter VR, often being called the first mixed reality platformer. Let me know in the comments if you agree with that statement, because some say Lego Bricktales stole that title. Demeter VR and mixed reality was not a game I initially was going to pick up, simply because I'm not a big fan of third-person VR. I like to feel immersed, and third-person kinda kills that feeling. But this is not VR, this is MR. So I must do my best to look at this game with an unbiased heart and see it for what it is. So let's get started. Let's talk about the mixed reality in general. I thought that the mixed reality in this game was handled pretty well. I will say one thing though, they warn you in the beginning that if you don't have a big enough space, it can impact your experience. It definitely does. I have a small office. I was utilizing my office to play this game. I probably should have prepared better and gotten a bigger space because I kept having to get in awkward positions or move the actual game in space, which they do allow you to do, but it kind of kills the immersion because the person's moving all over this planet in this other realm that you're standing in, and it kind of feels weird that you can mix it around. It doesn't really make much sense to me. Also, make sure your space is clear enough. I have a big coffee table in the middle, and that definitely kept me from feeling a smooth experience because sometimes the game was so big it was over the coffee table, and I wasn't quite sure where the coffee table was, where the dresser was, and I kept bumping into things as I was going along. It also kind of ruins the experience to have a smaller space because you'll see like asteroids and different things in the distance, and your room is small, so there is no distance. So I would definitely recommend, first off, if you play this game, get you a nice big room with tall ceilings if you can, but it's not going to completely kill your experience. If you don't, it's just that visual aspect where you can tell this little island is in the physical space of this couch, and that's kind of a weird experience. So the graphics in the game, they look pretty good. It reminds me a little bit of the graphics of Demeo, which makes sense because although I don't really put Demeo in this realm of game, they're utilizing the same spectrum of VR, which is where you yourself are of normal size and you're playing with items or toys that are much smaller. So the graphics, I'm going to go ahead and say that they were pretty good. I do wish the main character's mouth moved whenever she was talking to you.
Moving me about. It's usually Echo's job, but
that kind of killed immersion for me. The whole idea is that you're supposed to be some pilot for her that controls her and tells her where to go and what to do. And when she's not actually talking to me, it kind of kills the experience and makes me feel like I'm playing more of a game instead of having an actual alien world in my living room as they explain it in the game. Now let's get to the story. The story started off kind of cool. They have, her ship crashing in your living room or wherever it is that you are, and that's pretty neat, but the story really didn't keep me engaged. Throughout the game, you can pick up these tablets, which you can later go back and view in the menu, and the tablets kind of tell the story of Demeter. And that was interesting, but honestly, every time one came up, I was kind of like, okay, can we skip this? But then again, I wanted to know what was going on, because I kind of felt like I didn't know what was going on, even though I was playing the game. So I watched the stories, even though they were a little bit boring. I've discovered in mixed reality and VR, I don't like watching a screen. I like being part of the story. Much like they do in Asgard's Wrath or Assassin's Creed. You're not watching something, you're in it, you're a part of it. So I really didn't like the idea of the tablets, other than the fact that I could go back and view them at any time to remind me what was going on. Let's discuss the game mechanics. I kind of had mixed feelings about the game mechanics. There were times when I felt like I was really enjoying them, and then times when I felt like maybe I just didn't understand what all the buttons were. I would look into the menu and try to figure out the controls, and I kept having this issue where whenever I was holding onto a ledge, they tell you at one point in the beginning how to drop down. I never could remember what that was, and I kept jumping off the ledge, and whenever I pulled down, it didn't seem to work. But I kept falling off the ledge and dying, and then, I could get back to where I was and figure out how to do it usually, but it was just kind of an unnecessary frustration I felt that was in the game that probably could have easily been avoided by some sort of simple drop-down button, which may be in there. I just looked in the menu, couldn't find it, tried all my buttons on my controllers, couldn't find it. It may just be me. I wouldn't be surprised. The game kind of has you bounce from small island to small island, which is kind of cool to see the little ball floating across your room and it goes to another area, a new small island pops up. I didn't really like that though. I didn't like walking from one side of my room to the other to figure out where this thing was going to be. I kind of just wished it was all popping up right in front of me. And the only time I really felt like, oh, okay, I can get into this is when the entire center of my room was taken up with one set. That was really neat. I liked that a lot. And in that moment, I was looking at it and I was like, man, this looks like Mario Brothers. This looks awesome because it had all kinds of fireballs and platforms and all sorts of different things involved. And I really thought that part was a lot of fun. But the little island parts, I just kind of felt like, okay, come on, when can we get to another exciting piece? The game is definitely what I would call maybe a relaxing game, other than the fact that you can't really sit down to play it. It's best if you have room to walk around and move around, because although you can adjust the game where it is, it's much easier to stand up and look around. So I wouldn't really call it relaxing if you're having to stand up, look around, move from this place to that place. I didn't feel relaxed when I was playing it. The fighting is simplistic. So far, all I've done in the game is fight these animals that kind of have been possessed or cursed maybe, and you just kind of beat the spirit out of them basically, and then they turn good. You can kill the good animals. I don't know why. Did it by accident.
What? Why did you do that, Pilot?
And maybe that'll have more of a part in the story later, but for now, I really have no idea why you can kill the animals. It didn't seem to occur any penalty either. You have to go around the game getting these little, I think they were called sap crystals. I can't remember. There were so many new names. I don't have a clue what everything was called. But there was these little crystals you had to get. The whole time, the goal is to get this person, which I can't even remember her name, off of the planet. So you're constantly going around through platformer levels in order to accomplish this. All in all, I would say, so far, I might just need to play the game more, but I really didn't have a ton of fun with it. Please bear in mind when you're considering this, I don't prefer third-person gaming. If you like those third-person games, you may enjoy this very much. I just didn't find myself being very engaged. There are a lot of, I wouldn't call them puzzles so much as I would call them moments where you have to figure things out in the game, and usually I just felt frustrated till I figured it out. For some of you, that may be something that you find quite relaxing and enjoyable. I personally didn't. So comment and let me know if you think I'm just being biased because of the fact that I really don't like third-person games. If you want to get the game, because everything I'm saying, you're like, what's wrong with this guy? He doesn't know what he's talking about. I have a 25% discount in the description. And if you don't want to get the game, I got a lot of other videos you can watch, like these right here.